Come take a look at how to hobby on your very own Tablewar case.
Spiky bits.
What's up, hobby maniacs? I'm Baer with you today, showing you how to customize your very own Tablewar case. Now, this is the fully portable solution for a lot of armies out there that might be too big or have ridiculously oversized models that would otherwise be pretty much impossible to transport using conventional like foam bags or laser cut solutions or what have you. This is a great idea for big bad monsters and things that are riding stuff. I mean, the tree people, you've got the ogres, you know, there's titans and all sorts of things. Anything that's on a base is super easy to put in here and customize it to whatever way you specifically want to set up your army. Now, there's options for tray inserts, like if you want to do like rows of infantry and stuff. We're going to show you how to do that too, how easy it really is. But right now, it's a little difficult to do vehicles, I'll be quite honest, unless you want to put those vehicles on a base, like cut out a square base to go around it, so you have something that the vehicle is actually attached to something, and then the base itself will go into something. However, you could always put those vehicles in this little tray at the very bottom, this like pull-out kind of tray. They will kind of move around while you carry the tray. They won't be fully magnetized. But other than that, that's one drawback to this case, but I feel like one little drawback to a bunch of huge potential benefits for all of these crazy miniatures, including the Sky Pirates, that Games Workshop keeps putting out. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer for a lot of armies to pick up this case. So let's take a look at how you can hobby on your very own Tablewar case. So first up, we're just gonna grab our little metal tray right here from Tablewar, pop this bad boy open. By pop, I mean obviously we're gonna rip the bag, because what other way is there to get into things we need? And you can see here that there's just a tin, aka steel plate, and this little plastic retainer kind of picture frame type thing. And all this is literally something for you to glue this metal piece into, so that we can now magnetize all of our great miniatures to take advantage, full effect of the Tablewar case. And now to get a really permanent bond between the steel and this plastic here, we're going to use a Gorilla Glue, and this is your straight up regular white Gorilla Glue. You want to be careful with this stuff because it actually absorbs the moisture from the air, the ambient moisture. And there's a nice little peg right in there to help keep the thing clean, the little nozzle right there. So we're just going to use, less is better when it comes to this stuff, and you'll see why here in a second. So we're just going to do a thin bead around here. This is probably too much right there, so I'm going to kind of pull it back. Nice thin bead around there, and you're about to see why. So we're going to take a dry end of a paper towel and wipe this off and then seal it back up, because you don't want to leave this open, because the moisture actually from the air will eventually get in there and start making a mess of things. And then we're just going to take the outer edges of the steel plate and wipe it down with a damp paper towel. You know, so you're like, what the heck? What is that all about? Well, we're actually activating the glue right here. So we're just gonna drop this bad boy into here, something like that. Now this is something that's gonna glue, or dry rather, over about 30 minutes or so. So we're not gonna sit here and hold it that whole time. So what we're gonna do is grab some of our clamps that we have in our hobby arsenal here and clamp this bad boy down. Add a couple of strategic points right here on each side to try to maybe not torque this. And then we're going to let it dry for about 30 minutes or so before we come back and take a look at our work. So about 30 minutes later, your sheet will be glued down. Now, spoiler alert, this glue actually expands when exposed to water. Now, so that's kind of how it fills in gaps and adheres to things. So you remember that one little spot I was like, well, that's probably too much. Well, it turns out it was a little too much. But if that happens, you can just basically peel it off with your clippers right there. So now you can see we've got a nice solid bond after about 30 minutes between the metal and the plastic, making this really dope assembly here so we can start magnetizing our miniatures to fit on here. But there's one more step. We have to actually attach this to the plastic trays themselves to go into the tableware case. And next up, we're going to take the full tray, put a smaller metal sheet tray and a larger metal sheet tray into the actual tray that goes right there into the case itself, and a little spacer is going to go right in here. So we're going to glue all that down, clamp it down, and come on back in about half an hour. All right, so now all that is done. We've got our plates, our unit trays glued down into the actual drawers themselves right here. You can see a little bit of the glue is going to seep up sometimes, and it'll even come up through the plates as well from underneath. So you just kind of have to wait for it all to dry completely, and then get in there and, you know, just take your clippers or whatever and just try to do the best job you have. A lot of times you can still paint all this stuff and everything like that. Now, what makes this kind of setup very unique and why we're spending all this time on it is because you can take these unit inserts and then you can drop them right in here at some point when you're gluing it all down. You glue all this down and then you can put texture and paint over top of it, so then you just magnetize the bases of your models themselves, and then boom, they just drop right into here like that. And there's a little bit of tolerance left in order to give you that room for, you know, primers and paints and things like that, so everything will fit snug. But for this, we're gonna do it for our ogre army, so we need all the space we can get to put these guys right on top. So I'm not gonna have any particular order, it's just gonna be the steel plates. This is more a function than anything else. Now it's time to magnetize our miniatures so that they will actually fit to the trays themselves and not fall all out. One of the things I'm going to have to do is actually glue down my ogres right here, as I just use some poster tack to keep them in place to still keep painting on them. But that's a problem for another day. So I'm just going to grab a small pin vise, drill some pilot holes real quick for my actual drill, which we're going to have to be super careful with. Just kind of get an idea. We want one at the front, one at the back, pretty much on the same longitudinal line if possible. That way we'll have extra strength and rigidity, as well as, you know, they'll just tack right onto the metal itself. So it's getting some nice solid pilot holes onto there. And then we'll grab, let's see, what are we going to use? We have, I want to say this is a 1/4 inch magnets right here. Rare earth magnets, of course, by, I want to say 1/4 inch would be about 1/8 depth right there. So I'm gonna go with that. I think that is the actual, let's see, nope, 1/4 inch, that's not right either. Yeah, we'll go with 1/4 inch by 1/8. That may be a little bit off, but that's okay. The drill bit itself will tell the tale, and it is a, let's see, a 1/4 inch drill bit. So yep, 1/4 inch by 1/8. Okay, so now we're just gonna take this, we're gonna put it on its lowest setting, we're gonna put it on drill setting, low speed, because we need to be very careful as we go in here as to not drill through the base itself, right? So that's gonna be a whole thing. So we're gonna lock into our pilot hole, get our angle right, which is gonna look weird on camera right there, but I assure you this is actually square and perpendicular to the base itself. And then we're just gonna start to drill that out very slowly at first. And then we're gonna come back and expand on that hole until it fits the magnet itself. Now here's something interesting I wanna show you guys. So I've drilled my 2 holes, which you can see right here, but now when I test fit the magnets, you can see where this magnet goes slightly below the surface right there, and this one goes a little bit more below the surface, right? You can kind of see that where the line kind of slips under. This one not so much. This one is pretty much flush with the surface. Now you're going to want to prefer this size hole right here because it gives a little bit of space for your glue to get into. So I'm going to drill this out a little bit more. So you don't want it that snug, believe it or not, because you need to make space for your dried glue. Quite possibly the coolest thing about magnetizing things in this way, where we have a steel sheet in here, is that we don't have to worry about polarity. So I'm going to take the end of a little bit of zip kicker And I'm gonna put it on my stack of magnets here just to give it a little bit of a touch, kind of like a contact catalyst kind of thing. We're not gonna use all of the zip kicker to actually create a bond. We're gonna just use a little bit, so that way it just grabs initially and the rest of the glue kind of dries around it, and that way we're not kind of artificially making this bond for these holes right here. So we're gonna grab our glue right here just a little bit, because remember, we literally made that space just for some glue. Put a couple drops in, something like that. Very easy to do. Then we're gonna grab our stack of magnets, and again, it doesn't matter where we go, and we're just gonna stick that right in there till we get it flush. Give it a little bit of pressure, and I'm gently kind of turning. You can see I'm turning almost in slow motion, and what that's doing is that's gonna tell me when the glue grabs, because I'm still doing the same amount of pressure, but I can turn more and more and more, and now I know that the magnet is in there. And then we'll just do the same thing right here. Very easy. If you missed it, this is how easy it is. Make sure we're lined up with that plane right there, nice and flush. And again, push down just a little bit and twist. And we're twisting, and we're twisting, and we're twisting, and I can feel it grab, and I got more twist. I'm able to put more torque on it. And what's cool about this twisting is it actually makes the magnet or the glue dry a little bit more. It's giving a little bit of friction, right? And we should be able to. No, this one grabbed that bottom magnet. So we're just gonna let this dry a little bit more before we take it out. But you get the general idea and how it works right up there. A nice flush magnet surface to put inside the case now. So speaking of the magnet or the tin surface, we took this out on our patio, sprayed it all down with primer, sealed it with matte coat, little lusterless matte coat there to get what I hoped would be a great seal on this tin plate, because remember, that's still tin right there, but it's going to scrape off as the magnets, you put models on here and magnets scrape off. But then what I did was, you can also see brush strokes in here. I went in and I used Vallejo surface primer. I got a big batch of it, kind of put it on there, used two very, very small, thin coats over top of all of this to hopefully put a buffer between the metal and the magnets that won't scrape up, and it won't look terrible when you look inside of the tableware case itself when it's on display. And there's the finished product. You can see we have magnetized all of our bases, our big fatties up top, our little fatties down below. This is my full army, and I was kind of hoping that I could fit more models on here, and you definitely can, as long as you build them correctly. Because as you can see here, once we flip the top open, which is another really cool feature about this tableware case, is that I built them poorly. Like all of their big, I guess, accessories and weapons, I should have magnetized this back, and these guys should be a little bit more removable than what they are, but unfortunately that's what I built, not realizing that I would have problems down the road. So they're gonna take up a little bit more space than I wanted, but that's okay, because they still look pretty dope in here. And you can see where we've put all of our miniatures in here, we've magnetized them. They won't fall off. Well, watch them fall off, right? They won't fall off. They won't shift in the car. I'm putting a lot of force here. This isn't gonna, I wouldn't put this in an airplane, of course, because you can drop several thousand feet at a clip or 100 feet at a clip. You can't do that in a car. But these are very secure, and I'm very happy about the quality of these miniatures here and the ability to, put them in here in any way I want. Again, we showed you how we magnetized them. They clamp right down very easily. Even these big guys right here, which I think, messed up that tray. Sometimes it's hard to see without the perspective right here. Even these guys right here, I'm not gonna turn them upside down because the riders actually are not 100% fully attached, but you can tell they're not going anywhere, so I'm super digging the fact that these guys are so well into their case altogether. Now, it is a little bit of hobbying, but remember, you can, the appeal to this is that you can add these inserts to those steel trays. I actually have an extra steel tray I bought. Remember, you can get any size miniature into here that you want this is a fully customizable case for whatever you might want to do there with your particular army. And of course, you can also use this as a display case afterwards when you're done, when you're not taking it down to the game store. And hey, it doesn't have pockets, but you can put all of your templates. Well, I guess templates aren't as much of a thing anymore, but all your dice, maybe your rule book, but at least all of the accessories that you're going to need to play the games can go right into here. And then, to be honest, I might be able to just put a whole tray of miniatures right there in the bottom and add to my ever-growing forest of Beast Claw Raiders. So that's pretty much it for this one. I really enjoyed hobbying on this product. Now I have a fully encased army ready to go, so I can get on the road. I can go down to that Age of Sigmar tournament here this weekend, and all my stuff's going to look good. It's going to be protected. I don't have to worry about cutting out foam and weird shapes and things that don't fit. Now, if you like our video features here on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to comment when we go live. And for a monthly shipment of miniatures delivered to your door, check out our miniature crate over on patreon.com/spikybits, and head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports, which we record right here on this table. For exclusive content and early access videos, become a veteran of the Long War today.